Hello, everybody. My name is Rob Marino, and I'll be the moderator today. I'd like to thank you all for joining us here at the last panel of today. Our topic is technological advances in libraries, archives, and museums. We'll be hearing from all of our panelists, and then we'll do a Q&A session at the end. So up first is Paige Neumann. She's graduating in August of this year. She currently works as a circulation and reference assistant at the Pine Manor College Library, as well as a research administrative intern at Tufts University. Her presentation is titled "The Role of 3D Printers in Academic Libraries, Expanding Access to Emerging Technologies Through Instruction and Outreach." And without further ado.
Thank you, everybody. My name is Paige. I'm in GISLIS here at Simmons, and I'm going to talk to you today about 3D printers in academic libraries. And we're going to go over what 3D printing is. We're going to go over why this is important for libraries, and then I have 3 case studies from 3 academic libraries that have implemented 3D printing programs. And can you all hear me? So what is 3D printing? This is a process that allows users to create physical objects from a digital model. So you create a model using 3D software, and then you're able to print out your creation. This is older than you might imagine. It was actually developed in the 1980s. It's also called additive manufacturing, because it's the process of building an object in very thin layers. And I have a quick video to show you if you've never seen 3D printing in action. So this is from Wikimedia Commons, and it was created by OMI. Just want to make sure I give proper attribution, and I always appreciate Wikimedia Commons for providing these copyright-free materials for us. And you can see that the 3D printer is adding one thin layer at a time. It's obviously sped up for time. And it's slowly building up an object. In the end, it's going to be a hyperboloid, which is a mathematical term for a solid object that has hyperbola planes. If you remember the hyperbola curves from math class. And I apologize to any math people here if that was a poor explanation. I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. And in the end, there's your hyperboloid. So why put a 3D printer in the library? So if you think about what libraries are used for, it actually makes sense to have one there. Libraries, in many ways, are already maker spaces. They're places of doing research and writing, creating papers, poems, stories. Now, they're also centers of technology, so you go to the library to use the computer, the copier, the printer. There are libraries where you can check out laptops or tablets. So libraries are really not an unusual place to find new technology. And libraries are also, I think, centers of democratization in providing access to information and technology for all. So putting a 3D printer in a library is a way to take this emerging technology that may be too expensive for many people to access otherwise, and let them explore it and experiment with it. So 3D printers are already taking off in some public libraries and makerspaces. A makerspace provides an opportunity for anybody in a community to explore new technology. This is a 3D printer from the Cambridge Hackspace, which is a community-centered makerspace. It's not actually in a library. And so I want to talk about not only having 3D printers in public libraries, but also academic libraries. So we have 3 case studies today. The first is Dalhousie University in Nova Scotia. which launched their 3D printing program in June of 2012. Then we have the University of Nevada, Reno, which launched their program in the summer of 2012. And the University of Alabama, Tuscaloosa, launched in fall of 2012. So you can see that these are all early adapters of 3D printing. Nevada was actually the first American university to provide 3D printing to all of its community members through its library. And it's interesting to know that these are all large public research universities. So it's the public universities that are taking the lead in this project. And they all have a wide variety of programs, from arts and sciences to engineering to medicine and nursing. So they have a wide variety of students to serve. And I'm going to go over the types of 3D printers in these libraries. There are many types available. Commercially available printers range from $300 to almost $20,000. You can see that Dalhousie went on the lower end of that scale. They got a MakerBot replicator too, which is about $2,000. Nevada went way to the high end of the scale, got the Stratasys U-Print, which is almost $19,000. In addition, they also bought Bits from Bytes 3D Touch for about $4,000. And Alabama also went for the Bits from Bytes 3D Touch. You can see side by side we have the MakerBot, which is the $2,000 one, next to the Stratasys $19,000 printer. So the MakerBot is what's known as a hobbyist printer. So this is a lower end 3D printer. It's really good for experimentation. It's really good for quick printing. It's not so great for consistency. The Stratasys on the higher end is very consistent. It requires much less maintenance, which is why Nevada chose this one to save. It costs more money up front, but it saves on staff time in the long run. In addition to buying the hardware, you also have to get the software to go along with your 3D printer. So each of these universities offer a wide variety of software to their students and make them available in the library. And in looking at these three examples, I found three roles that really stood out for me that 3D printers can play in academic libraries. The first is they expand access to technology. Second is that they provide opportunities for instruction and learning. And third, they provide opportunities for outreach to students and faculty. So when I talk about expanding access to technology, I want to say that a lot of universities actually already have 3D printers, but they're usually kept in specific departments. So it might be in the engineering department or the architecture department, but not available to the campus-wide community. So by moving the 3D printer into the library, it now democratizes this technology, makes it available to all, and as Todd Colgrove from the University of Nevada says, we've brought the technology out of the lab and into access for all students. And they really mean all students, because at these three universities, they got a wide variety of students from engineering, chemistry, biology, computer science, as you might expect, but also from history, English, and art. And in this way, the libraries were able to reach out to students who might not otherwise be exposed to this technology. Another aspect of expanding access is reducing costs for users. As we learned, these printers can be rather expensive, but at University of Alabama, it is totally free for faculty, students, and staff to use the 3D printer. At Dalhousie, they charge $1 per hour of printing time, and at Nevada, it's $7.20 per cubic inch of printing material. So it gets more expensive. Remember, Nevada is the one that has the $19,000 printer to fund. So $7.20 per inch is a lot cheaper than having to buy a $19,000 printer. So along with expanding access to technology, we have opportunities for instruction. So at Dalhousie, Dalhousie, the librarians have supplied their community with a lot of online material about how to create a 3D model that will work well with their 3D printer. Their instruction is mainly focused on the software aspect, because at Dalhousie, what you do is you create a digital model and you send it to the library, and the library staff does the actual 3D printing for you. And librarians at Dalhousie are looking into creating instruction sessions beyond just online materials. At Nevada, they also provide information online in the form of a LibGuide. And they have, you can schedule a 30-minute consultation with a 3D wrangler. This is a student worker who has been trained in 3D printing. So this is a really great opportunity for the student workers to learn about this technology and to gain instruction experience. And it's really good for the other students who can learn from their peers, which may make this new technology less intimidating. And Alabama has done the most with instruction. They have 2-hour workshops, and after the workshop, you have to have an individual meeting with a library staff member, and then you are deemed an authorized user, and you can use the 3D printer independently. So you cannot use the 3D printer without going through this training, so it's a little more restrictive, but at the same time, it creates users who can use the technology independently. So, along with instruction, we have opportunities for outreach to the campus community. By putting the 3D printer in this open space, it allows for collaborative projects between different departments. You can get people from biology working with engineering or working with history. In academia right now, there's a huge emphasis on interdisciplinary work. So this is a way that libraries can help fuel those kinds of projects. And the library can also collaborate with faculty to incorporate this technology into their courses. For instance, at the University of Alabama, the art history professors are incorporating the 3D printing workshops into their design classes. The library can reach out to students by promoting these marketable career skills and learning how to use this technology to get hardware skills, software skills, and design skills, which can be really great career skills for post-college life. There's also the potential for forming student groups around the 3D printer that could be based in the library. And the libraries also provide a space to showcase the work created on these 3D printers. So it's a way to outreach to people who have made things. They can see their work on display and feel proud about that. And it's a way to outreach to new students who might see that work and say, hey, I want to do that. So what were people making on these 3D printers? We have a combination of academic and recreational creations, from engine parts, robot parts, gears, circuit board mounts, and model rockets. On the other end, we have art and sculpture. We have Christmas ornaments, personalized gifts. Naturally, somebody made a mini TARDIS. What else are you going to make on a 3D printer? The stamp is actually a really interesting example from Dalhousie. A student took an old document, scanned the text, raised it digitally, and then created a 3D stamp of that text. So now they have this font that you can't get anywhere else, but they can stamp it on anything they want. So these are some images from Nevada, from their Flickr site. There's a globe, an ear. Octocat is one of my favorites. It's a really fun example of what you can do with this technology. And so what do you do with all these images? You can put them in your institutional repository. So if we go to Dalhousie, this is their online 3D model repository. And you can scroll through. There's a lot of biology examples here. Lots of shells. And it's really cool to see what you can create. Like, that's a really detailed model made on this 3D printer. Dalhousie does offer a variety of colors for their 3D printer. in Nevada, we have a Flickr account, which is an online space to store and share creations. So I'm going to call it part of the institutional repository. And if we scroll through here, we have a lot of really interesting things, including, there it is. And so I just want to conclude with this quote from Dalhousie, and bear with me, I'm going to read the whole thing to you. Based on our experience, we firmly believe that 3D printers are a great fit for libraries, both public and academic. The printers work well alongside existing technology, and library users are bringing their creations to us to see them made reality. We've engaged our students with this technology, and they're learning with us in ways they haven't before. You can see that they've been really successful in their outreach to students. They've gotten new people into the library. And just to sum up, I want to say that I think that the role that 3D printers can play in expanding access to technology, expanding opportunities for instruction, providing opportunities for outreach, and for institutional repositories really make this technology a great fit for academic libraries.
Oh, if you just go ahead and just close it. Oh.
Next up, we have Liz Urbanczyk, who will be graduating in May of this year. She served as the president of the Simmons chapter of the Special Libraries Association since fall of 2012. She currently interns at Draper Laboratories, and she's presenting on charging lockers, why and how to install charging lockers in academic libraries.
Hi, how's everyone doing?
Good. Good. Hopefully I don't have technical difficulties. I'm here if you do. It'll be the first one.
No pressure.
No,
All right.
Where is it? The first one.
Like that?
Okay.
Let's see it.
Okay, maybe. I'm going to start a bit of a slideshow for you, but before I do that, I want to show you one quick picture. So the title of my study is Charging Lockers, Why and How to Install Charging Lockers in Academic Libraries. But it occurred to me that you might want to see a picture of the charging lockers before I get started, and for some reason that is not in my slideshow. So just want to give you see this here, is Go Charge. They are particularly in the, they have a contract with Major League Baseball, so they have a lot of their stuff at stadiums, baseball stadiums, but they are in airports and other places as well. So this is kind of top of the line. I just want to give you an example. And with these, you have a digital keypad, so each user is going to enter their own PIN every time it gets used. And on the inside, actually, I'm not sure what they have on the inside of these, but we'll get into that. All right, here we go. Where did we have the link? And to the, oh, there we go. There you go.
Oh, sorry, I just want to make sure it doesn't go on its own. This is like within my, I'm sorry guys, within my account, I kind of want like the,
I don't know your
sorry.
software, so unfortunately. All right, I'm just gonna do it this way. Sorry guys, you won't get the fancy cubes, but pretty cool, right? So the reason I started or got interested in this, and this study is only about halfway through the point I'm at, is thinking about over the course of the past 2 years the state of the academic library. And I am interested in special libraries, and I don't focus necessarily on academic libraries, but I've been in grad school forever, so I have a love for them. And there is a panic that's been going on for a while now about maintaining a need for the library within the institution, and finding different new innovative ways to make the library an absolute necessity for the school. In addition, you add that BYOD, bring your own device trend, is just exploding across college campuses and other places as well. So I just want to talk really quick about that and some of the problems and issues that come from it. So basically, it's creating havoc for wireless infrastructure, security, and just generally trying to keep up with students and this sort of explosion of devices. There's been research done showing 58% of students have 3 devices that are Wi-Fi capable or more. So that's a fair amount. And smartphone usage, 37% of students in 2011, 62% in 2012. This is Pew Research. And some of the types of devices, so a lot of it are things that you would take with you, and others are things that are in the dorm. So I'm just talking about the overall trend. E-readers, watches, cameras, printers, Wii, bathroom scale. So there are anything electronic is basically becoming wireless capable. But what that has also done is there's an unmet need for power and to be able to charge your device, and particularly devices that you're taking with you. And what I believe is that creates an opportunity for the library because of this unmet need. And I think that academic libraries are generally a step behind. And actually I have found that my study of a trend that has not come up yet, I already think might be obsolete. So this is an opportunity that could be taken to meet this need for power, because if the library doesn't offer sort of meet the power needs of the students, somewhere else on the campus it's going to happen. So what I decided to do was I found out that there are academic libraries installing charging lockers, and I wanted to find these libraries and send them a survey to find out how it's going. I wanted to know, what I wanted to find out is who is spearheading the installation of the lockers. Is it the library or the school saying, put these in there? Or the library saying, we're gonna do this? How it went once they bought them, where did they get them, what company, and then what issues they've had, and how they have solved these problems that have come up. And from that, I want to then create a blueprint of a how-to for libraries that they can turn to as sort of a manual if they want to install and create a program at their own school. So these are the problems that could come up, here's how you solve them, these are the companies where you can get these lockers, et cetera, et cetera. Right now, I have sent the survey and gotten responses, and have to go on from there. Can you see it? I've just pulled a few slides from my survey. So here's just a general, I want to know how popular they are. Are people using them? How would you rate the popularity of the lockers with library users? So you guys can't see probably, can you? So the you know what? Aren't you glad I didn't do the actual show?
Now you
Look at this. Now I can.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, can you see it?
No.
It's
smaller.
Oh, I'll just have to read it too. Sorry, guys. Man, never good when you try new things. Okay. The green is undergraduate students. I've had 29 people reply, or 29 people doing the survey. So this is your average rating is 30%, and I gave them options of 1 is extremely popular and 5 is not popular, or I guess 5 is actually doesn't NA, and then 4 is not popular. So average, they're in the middle. And you can see across. So green is undergrad students, the turquoise blue is graduate students, orange is faculty, gray is staff, and the bottom is visiting researchers. So it's about medium. And then in my research and in a few of the comments I got was sort of a feeling that, an expectation that these would be extremely popular and it not being as popular as they had hoped. We'll talk more about that in a minute. These are services. So the lockers either have an outlet in it or pre-installed cables. That would be sort of like what we have in our lab or you see in a kiosk, so that the student, being that if you have an outlet that then you have to have a cable for, do you then rent out or lend out cables as well? Or do you have to remember to bring your cable for all your devices? So I had wanted to find out what other services that they would offer. And I will read you that stuff real quick. Don't worry. So the top is the loaning of cables for charging is the bright green. And then charging stations is the middle. So that's what I found was interesting, that all these schools also had charging stations, which is what we have. So I don't know if they had that person that got the lockers or they did it all at once. And the last is other charging services, but of course no one told me what that was. You know, I don't know what they have, like a space alien, you know. People do not answer. If you ever do a survey, make it all multiple choice, because any opportunity to get any more information they did not give me. And then last, I just wanted to find out about how they manage the privilege of getting a locker, and this is what the lockers were actually equipped with. So the most of them had electrical outlets, which is the blue, and then turquoise is having cables and outlets in it, which I hadn't even thought of. I don't know why. It's a simple, obvious choice to do, but and then last is other, which I'm guessing, I don't know what that is either. No one said. So I was surprised it had more electrical outlets than actually doing the cables. I would think you would do cables over having outlets, but anyways. And then cost of the program was the other thing I wanted to know about, because I was theorizing that this is actually an affordable, it could be an affordable thing you can provide users. And it is, because I've looked at the numbers. Most of the schools were doing this during a renovation, like during a renovation time, they told me. And about 10 years ago, everyone started redoing space. That's like the big thing, and everyone still is talking about space. But with the renovation of space, I think were opportunities to make areas for this kind of service. So I think the more expensive, right here it says it's all split up, but the orange is $15,000 to $25,000 program for the lockers. So I don't know if that's all lockers, they didn't tell me, or if that is part of the renovation. This is less than $1,500, and right here is $1,500 to $3,000, which is sort of the price range I was thinking schools would use. So then last semester I did a little project with classmates on Beatley Library here, and so I wanted to look at this space. You know, when you walk in, you have your seating area, and these are periodical shelves with nothing on them. They might be gone now. Are they gone? But I haven't been there in a while. Yeah. So okay, so you get the image of the space. Here's a drawing. So these would be charging lockers. Here's your periodicals. And this artist did this drawing for me. And what she has here is art. Say you're at a school that has a good art program. And so it's a place to display art in the library of some of the art students, and then you have the charging lockers in the middle. Just as a way to integrate it into the space. And this would be if you're just getting traditional $1,500 to $3,000 lockers, a way to put that into this seating area where there's really not much there. So before I go on to that, I just want to talk a little bit about where I'm at with the study and problems I've had. So, to my great dismay, there was a problem with my survey. And most of you have used SurveyMonkey probably by now. And you can do intelligence on your survey. Do you know how that works? So the first question is, do you understand what I said and no, I'm not treating you like a monkey and whatever? Yes or no? And if they answer no, then they get kicked out of the survey. If they answer yes, they go on. For some reason, being my fault, I did something. Answer yes skips like 2 pages of questions. So I missed all my demographic questions. So that was just like the biggest bummer ever, because I kept thinking, why is no one answering these questions? Like, how do they all know? Can they see what the other, do they know? And it's my questions of, I used Carnegie rating, which is classification of schools, breaks them into different categories because I wanted to be able to see how big the school was. I wanted to see a lot of stuff that they didn't tell me. So that was really frustrating. And I'm trying to decide now if I take the group I have that have answered. So they answered half of it, but it's like I'm missing big chunks of information I'd like to have. Do I take the group I have and then do a second round? So I'll actually have 2 different groupings, because obviously I can't change it now and have people keep answering because it'll skew my results, you know. So do I do a second group and try and get the survey out again? Question. And I'm like, no, I don't think I will, because I don't think that many schools have them. So that means, can I try and get all these people to do it again? No, they're not going to want to do it again either. So I think where I'm at now is I'm going to switch into to interviewing, because I did have a few people contact me. I've done my own research and found some schools that have them and been in touch with. I have enough people to talk to them and ask them the questions I want to ask. So along with that, that's my solution. It's been decided, so don't make me change my mind now. And then in addition to that, I want to talk to some of these companies, because as you saw with the Go Charge, for instance, it's so industrial. I mean, it just doesn't really fit into the academic library setting. But this is an opportunity for them as well. This is a new market for these innovations, and they should start designing ones that look better in our library. So I need to do some interviewing there. As far as what the future will bring, so on that note, it turns out my brother is an architect and does some of this stuff. This is Express Spa that he collaborates with. They're in airports, but these are also, okay, so you can charge devices on these things. This is like a little massage table. And this is like a charging stand where you would stand. And this is sort of you could put your tablet or anything there and it's gonna charge on that. And now we're talking about sort of into the future. These are, you can ride around on one of these and do your computing. It's a desk, mobile desk. This is a new thing that is becoming more and more popular. You know, like the segues.
Yeah.
Desks like that are becoming big too, because people collaborate so much now that they can't sit in one place. They have to be able to move around. So you have a big office and you want to talk to someone over there, you just have all your computing stuff on your little thing and then you just go. Okay, can I show the video? Do I have time? Okay. Another, is this it? Another,
Scroll up.
okay. Another technology are basically like charging tables. So what I'm picturing is the Beatley example. You go in there, like that round table charges anything you put on it. Charging furniture is big, like weird beds and stuff like that, because you always have to have your stuff. So this is Power Mat. Where did you say you saw it? At Starbucks?
Oh, they have it at the Starbucks over by the Children's Hospital. They have it up on a bar where you can set your phones on it.
Yeah, so it's like it's wireless charging. So I might as well just throw my whole thing in the trash can, because who needs a locker when there's wireless charging? So that they've partnered, this company has partnered with Starbucks. So here's their little...
Today we are mobile people. We're moving from place to place with our smartphone, and it makes sense to energize those devices in a mobile way.
Mobile is about freedom, but when you run out of power at 12 p.m. or at 2 p.m., it really brings about a great deal of anxiety and it defeats the whole purpose. PowerMat is helping create a world where we never run out of power, where our technology is mature enough to take care of itself so we can live our lives and not babysit its battery. It's a basic clash between physics and chemistry. Processing power is based on moving electrons around. And electrons are really, really small, but battery power is based on much bigger things, electrolytes and cathodes, and we've crammed as many as we're ever going to cram into our devices. So billions of dollars and the finest minds in the industry are all invested in bringing us the latest features, which we routinely turn off in the name of battery conservation. We dim the screen, we turn off our Bluetooth, and we ration GPS and social networking apps. We believe there's a better way. We believe it's time to do for power what Wi-Fi did for data. Wi-Fi meant your data just arrived at your device. With wireless power, power just arrives at your device. And that is the best guarantee of staying powered throughout the day. We're already putting our phone on tabletops and in central consoles in our car and on the bedside table when we sleep. If we put wireless power into those surfaces, you keep doing what you're doing, and your device will be replenishing your battery.
Our company is about freedom. We will enable you to be free from the anxiety level you have about your battery level. I like very much the analogy to cars. Cars represent freedom. You can get into your car, you go on your way, and one day after you're in Las Vegas. And do you know why you can do that? Because every 2 blocks you have a gas station. We're actually establishing a network of gas stations, a network where people can go, drop their phones, and get energy to keep going to the next place. Yeah, I think we're facing the chicken and egg kind of issue. I mean, not only we need to educate consumers that it's beneficial for them to have wireless power in their phone, we also need to establish an infrastructure that will enable you to come in and while having your espresso, get enough energy to go to the next place.
I think you get the idea, right? Okay, yeah. So that phone actually has to have a case on it to do this. One of the things, the only thing I've read about why these lockers are not more popular, this is the last thing I have to say, is that people don't want to leave their stuff. They can't be separated from it, as basically what this guy is brainwashing us into knowing. And I don't know, I mean, that's going to be my big question in the interviews, is if they're promoting this enough, or it sounds like they're, no one said we wish we hadn't done it. I've had a few comments, but that has been very interesting to me. So I still think, even with that for the cost, it's a valuable investment for the library. It's something that, say, on our campus, you can't get anywhere else. So as a commuter, when I'm here and I can never charge my stuff and I can't leave it in the lab and I want to go lay down and take my nap, and I would put it in the locker. I definitely would. So.
Next up, we have a group consisting of Leah Edelman, Elizabeth McGorty, and Timothy Walsh. Leah is in her final year in the Simmons Archives Management program. Elizabeth is a second-year candidate in the Archives Management History program. Timothy Walsh is currently in the Archives Management concentration, and their presentation is called Democratizing Archives, Digital Libraries, and the Expansion of the Archival User Base.
Slideshow.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Elizabeth McGorty. Leah Edelman is standing to my left, Timothy Walsh to my far left. Our presentation today, entitled Democratizing Archives, Digital Libraries, and the Expansion of the Archival User Base, explores the questions: who are the user populations of digital libraries and archives, and what types of activities are they engaged in? As an initial first step, we examined queries received at Tufts University Digital Collections and Archives from the Tufts Digital Library, otherwise known as the TDL. Although further demographic research would have to happen in the future, we wanted to see if preliminary findings suggest if the TDL is used by a variety of users involved in various pursuits. As Rob mentioned, Leah, Tim, and myself are all students at the Graduate School of Library and Information Science here at Simmons College, as well as colleagues at Tufts University, DCA.
So we'd like to begin the presentation with a quick introduction to DCA, which, as Elizabeth mentioned, is Tufts University's archives. And as such, it is the steward of all records of enduring value for Tufts University, and it preserves and provides access to 616 collections, which include university records, university publications, and manuscript collections, including one of our most widely used collections, the papers of Edward R. Murrow. DCA employs 6 full-time staff members, 4 Simmons graduate students, and a rotating number of Tufts undergraduate and graduate student workers. And although Tufts students, faculty, staff, and alumni are the primary user community, DCA's services are open to the public.
Okay, and I'm going to introduce you to the Tufts Digital Library. So the Digital Library, or TDL, is a collaboration between DCA and Information Technology at Tufts. It consists of about 50,000 records, including digitized collection material, born digital collection material, EAD finding aids, faculty papers, and student theses and dissertations. And it's built entirely on free Libra and open source software. It utilizes a Fedora Commons backend for data storage and a in-house made front end from Blacklight, Hydra, and Solar. So here you see the homepage for the TDL, and I would say it's a fairly familiar interface for most users. There's simple and advanced search functionality at the top. On the left, we have some faceted browsing, which allows users to browse through collections by format, names, year, subject, and collection, and then a couple featured exhibits and collections, some of which are actually bound together by the same provenance that our physical collections are, and some, like the Tufts and Local History, are more of an aggregation of links to various records that might be useful to someone, depending on the nature of their research. And this is what a typical item level record looks like. You'll notice, and this in particular is a few Tufts students from the 50s with our mascot, Jumbo the Elephant, in the Barnum Museum of Natural History, which sadly burnt down in 1975. But if you ever want to see his tail, we have it in the archives. But you'll see there is some fairly standard metadata here. You have title, creator, contributor, dates, subject headings, and then there's also the option to either download this access copy image that you see here or request a higher resolution image from us, which would require going through and filling out an image use permission form. And there are also links on every page. Up at the top right, you'll see it says comments about this page that allow users to submit feedback forms that get submitted directly to DCA reference staff.
So in order to frame our study of the TDL, we reviewed literature relating to digital libraries, their use, and their users. But we found that this literature primarily discussed design, evaluation, and user needs, with a minimal focus paid to actual user demographics. When users are discussed, the question seems to be whether digital libraries can meet their needs, the needs of specific user groups that is, without first asking if these specific user groups are actually using the digital libraries. So our paper discusses research that examines some of these user groups, including historians, students, and disadvantaged and accessibility challenged populations. But questions of if, when, and how those groups are accessing digital libraries remains largely unexplored. So we found that case studies of particular digital repositories offered somewhat more relevant questions to frame our research. And one in particular, a study done by Joan Gray and Wendy Duff on the early Canadiana online repository, reports the findings of a second user survey investigating how user groups and the nature of use may have changed since the first survey. And the results we found have really important implications for our research. So firstly, 1/3, 36% of first-time users of the early Canadiana online repository were people who arrived at the collection via the World Wide Web, and 10% of those arrived there through links from other websites. And this is encouraging to us as it shows us that digital libraries are discoverable on the web regardless of previous knowledge of the collections or of the repository. And second, Cherry and Duff report that 82%, over 3/4 of users, felt that they were satisfied with solely digital access to materials. And the implication here is that digital libraries can widen a repository's user base to those conducting research remotely and those with travel limitations, whether those are monetary, related to physical abilities, or the limited hours of a reading room. And finally, Cherry and Duff wrote of some unanticipated uses and users of the early Canadiana online materials. One user found materials that helped him learn his native Inuit language, and another user found crochet patterns in the repository. So it shows us that the digital repository is reaching people that may never have consulted the physical repository in the first place. So this article and our other research helps us conclude that the populations of digital libraries are quite varied, and that we need a really a fuller picture of users before we can begin to address their needs. And that's where our research comes in.
Okay, so I'll introduce our research by discussing our methodology. Our research was conducted exclusively at Tufts DCA. We gathered and analyzed data from TDL feedback submitted between November 1st, 2013 and January 31st, 2014. The TDL prominently features several options to get in touch with us. In addition to listing general contact information such as mailing address, email address, and phone number, as Tim mentioned before, the Contact DCA page gives users the options to fill out the web-based feedback form, which is then sent automatically to the reference staff. Feedback submitted during the period studied was transformed into quantitative data according to 3 criteria. 1, email address. 2, identification gleaned from the content of the message. And 3, the nature of the user's inquiry. Each supplied email address was counted as belonging to one of 3 categories: Tufts.edu address, a non-Tufts educational address, or other. But despite these distinctions, this data may not paint a wholly accurate picture of the TDL's user base, as it is unclear whether students and faculty consistently use their educational email addresses. In addition, because the email address field is unverified, there is room for additional data manipulation by users. One user entered the unlikely email address unknown@unknowable.com. So in order to provide additional perspective on the data, user feedback was also analyzed for self-identifying information in the content of each message. To maintain consistency, users were next categorized as belonging to one of the following categories: a Tufts affiliated person. This consisted of Tufts students, Tufts faculty and staff, and Tufts alumni, non-Tufts academics, clearly non-tough students and faculty, and the general public, genealogists, local residents, etc. For those messages containing no identifying information, a category was created simply called unidentified. Finally, message content was coded according to the nature of the user's inquiry. The following categories were constructed for this portion of the data gathering. Correction or comment regarding an item, question regarding the TDL, including how to submit work for inclusion, request for physical or remote access to collection material, image use permission request, request for copyright information, general reference inquiry, and finally an offer to donate material to DCA's physical collections.
Okay, so now to look at the actual results. You'll see when we look at self-supplied email addresses that it paints a picture of pretty heavy non-Tufts affiliated use. It's important to point out again, as Elizabeth said, that many people may not use their educational email addresses consistently. I know I very rarely use my Simmons or Tufts addresses when I'm filling out a web form. And as well, that Tufts staff who are used to dealing with us may just pick up the phone and give us a call rather than submitting a feedback form through the TDL. But regardless, it shows that there is quite a bit of use outside of the Tufts community. I think the 13 others is certainly indicative of something. And if we go to the next slide, looking at self-identification in the actual content of the message, we definitely see this is true as well. So if we exclude the 3 users for whom we have no identifying information, you see that there's an equal number of Tufts affiliated and unaffiliated users that submitted these content feedback forms. Among affiliated users, we had students, alums, faculty, and staff. And I think one thing that's telling is that a lot of the alums here were getting in touch with us about how to submit their theses and dissertations in the hopes that they'd be as widely available as possible on the TDL. We had a non-Tufts student, which I would typically expect there to be more of, but at least there's one. And then for the general public, there was also a pretty varied group. We had genealogists, local residents, and then other general public, meaning corporate employees who are looking for an image for a publication, or professional authors that are looking for some sort of source material for whatever they're working on. Even people just looking for pictures to hang up on their wall because they know someone who went to Tufts, so they knew Goddard Chapel is a beautiful building, and they wanted a poster for their drawing wall. And then finally, if we look at the actual nature of the inquiry, I think this paints a pretty varied picture as well. You'll see the most common type of inquiry was a general reference or informational question, wherein someone was asking us for verification of some sort of fact, generally. After this, there were an equal number of requests for permission to use an image in some sort of publication, questions about the digital library itself or how to submit their work to it, and requests for material. And I find this encouraging that our users are requesting both physical access and digital access. So we're not talking about one form of material that we offer the public being more predominant than the other. And also a little bit of sort of crowdsourcing metadata quality control. There were quite a few people who offered corrections or comments on items, saying, oh no, I know that person, you have them misidentified in this picture, which allows us to provide more accurate metadata for the images that we're putting in.
So, where to go from here? So while our results are weak and interesting and encouraging, we do want to point out some limitations and directions for possible future research. Firstly, we had a very small sample size, so each user accounted for a significant percent of the overall sample, so we'd like to enlarge our sample in the future. And secondly, we did have a self-selected user group of those who chose to submit the content feedback form, and that represents only a portion of the TDL user community, which includes largely those who either submitted no form or chose to contact DCA in another way. So while we do have these directions for future research, we do believe that digital libraries have the potential to attract new users and reduce barriers to access for both new and traditional users. And we think further research can only help us answer the question of when we put our resources online, notices.
Okay, So I think it's worth considering here that there's a larger picture than just Tufts and our digital library. You can see here images of a few digital libraries out there. I was able to find a list, actually, just a personal blog post by the looks of it, where someone compiled their 250 favorite digital archives, broken down by subject area, state, country. So clearly, there's a lot of people putting effort into these types of projects. And we think that with better user demographic data, each of these could find their niche audience and serve it better. I think, yeah, given the findings of Duff and Cherry and our kind of preliminary research, we think that it is a worthy investment of time on the part of people engaged in digital library projects to figure out who their users actually are, because we can see that they're a lot more varied than the traditional academic, serious researcher user of archives. There's quite a few people who are probably finding this just by clicking links around the internet while they might be sitting on their couch watching a movie or cooking dinner or something like that, who will then be able to use this in some sort of personal pursuit, who never would have actually gotten in the car and driven to Tufts to use our reading guide. So we think that if digital libraries will make this commitment to survey and repeatedly survey their users to make sure that they have an accurate picture of who their actual users are, that it'll allow them to fulfill their missions better.
Right, and we can fulfill this mission by performing two functions. Making the public aware that these resources exist, but also designing the access tools in such a way that entices the public to use them, as Tim alluded to. The data that we pulled, limited although it might be, indicates the need for comprehensive user demographic studies. If one of the aims of the archival profession is to facilitate open access, how can we inform users of any community to notice that we have resources for them? Well, surely our profession's traditional methods, such as outreach, are helpful, but we also feel that collaborative projects between institutions and practitioners is another such method. The Digital Public Library of America, or DPLA, is a fine example of this. These types of collaborative projects attract press, increase web traffic, and show a united front across the profession. We also feel that encouraging the playful use of records, for example, by making metadata openly available to app developers via APIs, is another such way to show users that our holdings cater beyond the serious researcher accessing primary source material, that this material is both meaningful and fun. Ultimately, our end goal should be to make information not only widely and freely available, but to spread the word that the material is here and anyone can use it.
Thank you very much.